Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is January 31st, 2024, and Barcelona just achieved a very much needed win against Osasuna 1-0 at the Olympic Stadium in Montjuic. And with this, Barcelona take home three very important points, three very much needed points. And with the great news that Vitor Roque, or Tigrinho as he's been nicknamed, has scored his first goal with FC Barcelona. This is the match analysis or the post-match live analysis. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and this is the post-match live analysis where we analyze Barcelona matches as soon as they end, not to be confused with the Barca News' podcast, which is where we share the Barcelona news and I get to interact with all of you. Speaking of the podcast, there'll still be a podcast tonight, of course, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lots of news to discuss with you, so I will see you guys tonight. Don't think that because I'm doing a live right after the match that I'm not going to be doing a podcast. Not at all. The podcast is still coming. Having said that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the kit bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. Both links for kit bag and Bet Us are in the description. Now let's start with the match analysis because Barcelona just defeated Osasuna 1-0 at the Olympic Stadium in Montjuic. This was a midweek game because it's the match that had to be rescheduled because of Barcelona's participation in the Spanish Super Cup. Of course, all the participants were behind by one match. Now they've all caught up. And Barcelona were able to get this very, very important win. And I say it was an important win because right now, given Barcelona's positioning on the table, every match from now until the end of the season will be almost like a final for Barcelona. Because before this, Barcelona were in fourth place. The Champions League spots were in danger. So we have to keep winning. We have to guarantee the top four spots in order to qualify to the Champions League next season. Because if we don't qualify, of course, not only is that a sporting scandal or a sporting crisis, it's a financial one. And at this point, the finances are starting to matter a little bit more than the sports. Because if we can't make the money, if we cannot sustain ourselves financially, then we're in big, big trouble, and it doesn't matter anything else. So let's look at the table after today's win. Barcelona now, again, caught up 22 matches. Of course, Madrid are still have to play their match. But now that they're at the same level as Atletico Madrid and Athletic Club de Bilbao, Barcelona have now moved to third place with 47 points. They are technically 7 points behind Madrid, but of course, Madrid has one last match. And they are, 8 points behind Girona and 2 points ahead of Atletico de Madrid and 5 points ahead Athletic Club de Bilbao. So again, much better position now, but of course, not guaranteed. We cannot slip. We have to continue winning. We have to continue getting results in order to guarantee that Champions League spot. Now, in general, overall, another terrible match. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Another match where the team have absolutely no idea what they're doing. No collective play. Incredibly slow play. Incredibly slow movement of the ball. 11 players, again, that don't know what to do on the field. Just looking at each other, trying to figure it out as the match goes by. No mechanisms. No quick transitions. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm a broken record because I've said these things a million times before, and I guess I'm going to have to keep saying it until the end of the season. But again, another abysmal performance by Barcelona. I'm not going to talk about it too much because at this point, I think we have reached the conclusion that it's going to be like this until the end of the season. There's not going to be any changes. Xavi has already agreed to step down. So I think that at least by the looks of it from today, it doesn't look like his announcement has made any difference. You know, he He said he was stepping down. The players, said that they were going to do their best to give him a goodbye and to finish the season strong. Lewandowski had that meeting at his house. And now that all the dust has settled, I haven't seen any difference. It's the same exact match that we've seen before. But again, I'm not going to go into it too much because it looks like this is what we have. This is what we've been seeing. This is what we're going to continue to see until the end of the season. So instead, I'm going to focus more on the positive things, starting with Tigrinho's goal. Vitor Roque scoring his first goal with Barcelona. A great header, came in around the 60th minute. And I have to say, I've really missed an attacker or a center forward who is constantly, instead of asking for the players to pass the ball to his feet, who's actually constantly running to the empty space and trying to occupy those empty spaces. I've missed that. I haven't seen that in a while. I've also missed an attacker who is constantly fighting for every ball, who's constantly fighting, challenging every ball, who's constantly fighting with the defenders, who's constantly trying to, break loose, get open, get freed of his mark. Haven't seen that in quite a while. And I'm really happy to see that in Vitor Roque. Of course, we still saw that he's still not fully there as far as being capable of competing in La Liga or being, I guess, fully adapted to La Liga. That's normal. He just arrived. Hasn't even been a full month, so maybe it hasn't been a full month. But as far as training, it hasn't been that long. He's still adapting to Barcelona. He's still adapting to European football. And I'm sure in no time he'll adapt fully. So we're still seeing that he's still lacking a little bit of adaptation. But overall, I mean, what a signing so far, or at least from what we've seen. Great goal. I'm very happy for him. I think with this goal, he has taken the pressure off because, when you're 18, you just got signed by a big club. You have that pressure. I need to score. I need to score. I need to show what I'm worth. I think with this, hopefully he's taking the pressure off and he can do better because in previous matches, even though he only played 5-10 minutes here and there, we always saw him like a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious to kind of score or to prove himself. Hopefully with this goal, he's shaking that anxiety and those nerves off. Very, very happy for Vitor Roque. I can't wait to see what he has to show us. And that is one plus from, again, another abysmal match by Barcelona. And I still don't understand why Barcelona have such a hard time of protecting their results. Because we score the first goal, Osasuna gets a red card, and all of a sudden we're against the ropes. Like you're ahead by a goal, you have one extra man, you expect Barcelona to start dominating, to start creating chances, to score more goals. And instead it's the opposite. Instead our back is against the wall, we are defending with everything we have. We're just clearing balls. We're just sending balls down the field. Osasuna has us against the ropes. I mean, apparently nothing has changed from Xavi's announcement. Another match, another terrible match, just like all the matches we've been seeing so far this season. Anyway, let's do the comment section, and then we'll talk more about players. Again, I'm going to try to stay focused on the positive things since I've pretty much given up. I think this is what we have, and this is what we're going to continue to see. So we'll talk a bit more about players, focus a bit on positive things, but let's do the comment section first. Let's see. Football Absurdism says, Mo, is it true that Brahim Diarra is going to join our club? I made a video about this several months ago. Barcelona had already reached an agreement with Diarra. It was, I can't remember what month it was. I think it was September, maybe October. I did a video about it, but Barcelona reached an agreement with Diarra a long time ago. They couldn't make it official because of his age. He can't join Barcelona until he's officially 18. He's still 17. He was actually present today in the stadium. They showed him. He was there. I imagine it was his mom. There was a lady sitting next to him. But yes, Diarra will be a Barcelona player. This agreement was reached months ago, and I'll talk a little more about it in the podcast tonight. Baby's Comeback says, what's up, Mo? What are your thoughts about the team overall? Pedri looks miserable. Like I already said, just another terrible match by Barcelona. Same match that we've seen all throughout the season. Incredibly slow movement of the ball. No idea on what to do. Too slow in occupying the empty spaces. I mean, it's just sad. It's just sad, and I think this is what we've seen so far. This is what we're going to continue to see. So I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. So I'd rather just focus on other things, because until the next season, we're not going to see any improvements. I keep thinking we will, but Barcelona keeps, proving me wrong. Okay, Barian says, hey Mo, another one-dimensional game. Xavi's tactics still baffle me, because why would he take off Fermin? Don't get me wrong, I'm happy for Vitor's goal, but Fermin wasn't supposed to go off. Agree with you 100%. I still don't understand what Xavi tactics are. I don't think there are any. I think it's more like, all right, let's train during practice. Let's work on our rondos. Let's work on our kicks, and then just go off on the field and, do whatever you feel like it. Because that's what it seems to be what Xavi tactics are. Because on the field, the 11 players are they're all playing by themselves. Each one is going through whatever they want to do. They're trying to figure out. Like, it's just 11 individual players. There's no team. There's absolutely no collective play. So again, I don't understand what Xavi tactics are, if there are any, because I'm just not seeing it. I just see, again, 11 individual players, each playing their own game and hoping for the best. But that's a good segue, because I do want to talk about the Fermin substitution, because I honestly did not understand it one bit. Ferran Torres gets injured. We bring in Fermin Lopez. He's probably aside from Lamine Yamal, he's one of the very few players who's actually making a difference, making runs, fighting for every ball, challenging defenders, running to the open spaces, always trying to get open, always trying to lose his mark, doing diagonal passes. He had a few shots he missed. That was unfortunate. But nonetheless, he's the only player who's one of the very few players who's actually causing any kind of damage, if you may, to the opposing defense. He's the only one who's disorganizing Osasuna's defense. And then he takes him off for Vitor Roque. It made no sense to me. I'm not saying that Vitor Roque should have not come in, of course. But why not take out Lewandowski, who's not doing much? Why not maybe rest Lamine Yamal and bring in Vitor Roque in his place? Lamine Yamal has played every minute of every match these past 4 matches. So I didn't understand it. Not just that, but also I think, what's the message that you're sending to Fermin? Because Fermin is still young. He just became a first-team player yesterday. And he is playing his heart out. He's making all these runs. He's challenging the ball. He's trying to get open. He's running to the empty space. He gets a couple of shots that he misses, and then you take him off right after you brought him in a few minutes ago. So what's the message you're sending to him? That he shouldn't try the shots, that you're punishing him for missing the shots? Because it's the kids who we should allow them the mistakes, not the other way around. It's like we're allowing the veterans, people like Lewandowski, like Gundogan, we're allowing them a big margin of mistakes. We're allowing them to make as many mistakes as they want. And in the meantime, a youngster makes a mistake and you take him off immediately, when it should be the other way around. It's the veterans who should be punished for their mistakes, because they're veterans. They're experienced players. They know what they're doing, and they should be punished for their mistakes. Meanwhile, a youngster who's still learning, who's still adapting, he should be given a lot more leeway than an experienced player, and especially an experienced player who you're paying millions and millions of euros. So you're paying all this money to these players who are supposedly top of the world, top class, who have plenty of experience, and you allow them to make all the mistakes in the world, but you have a kid who's just learning, who is earning, a fraction of what these other players are earning, and you punish him. So I didn't understand it. Maybe Xavi wanted to keep Lewandowski because, after all, having a center forward does kind of take the defense's attention away from your other players, kind of like what happened in the goal with Vitor Roque. When Vitor Roque scores, he's kind of left, the defense is more focused on Lewandowski and what Lewandowski is going to do. Maybe that's why. But honestly, I didn't get it. Anyway, speaking of, Ferran Torres was injured, I think it was minute 6, minute 7, and it's not looking good. Hopefully I'm wrong, but the way he just goes down up without any challenge, without anything, it's telling me this is a serious muscle injury. It's looking like kind of Balde's injury. Again, I hope and I pray to God that it's not, because with Rafinha injured, with Joao Felix injured, another winger gone, we are pretty much left with that option, except Lamine Yamal, and he's 16 years old. He can't play any match, but it's not looking good, and I'm starting to worry about the injuries. I think there's something seriously wrong with the medical staff, with the physical trainers, with the physical therapists, you name it. I tried not to focus on it too much. I chucked it off to, all teams have injuries, right? It's part of the sport. And then the injuries continue to happen. And I was like, well, it's also the calendar, which it is true. The calendar does play a role. I think FIFA, UEFA, all these organizations in their greed to make more and more money, I think they have definitely overexploited these players, because we're seeing injuries, everywhere, not just Barcelona. So I think the calendar does have to do with it. But now we're at the point where I'm like, okay, we can't just chuck it off to it's part of the sport, that it's the calendar. I think there's something wrong with the medical staff, because the amount of muscle injuries that we're getting has to be something to do with how these players are being physically prepared. And I don't mean training. I mean the physical trainers, how they're conditioning, maybe their nutrition. I don't know. But something is not right, because the amount of muscle injuries is huge. And the funny thing is that I think this was a couple of press conferences ago, Xavi Hernandez was asked about this, and he said that there haven't been any muscle injuries all season, which, again, I don't want to, people keep saying, oh, I'm tired of your Xavi rants, but Xavi rants are due to the fact that Xavi keeps giving me reasons to rant about him. How are you going to say that we haven't had any muscle injuries all season when that's all we've had? I mean, sure, Gavi tore an ACL, but everyone else, it's been a muscle injury. And even when it comes to ACLs, that can also be attributed to muscle fatigue. I mean, basic anatomy, when your muscles are fatigued, they can no longer operate at 100%. And when they can't operate at 100%, other parts of your body start to compensate for the lack of your muscles working at 100%. So when your muscles are fatigued and they're not operating at 100%, they can't absorb the full impact. So what starts to absorb the whole impact? Your ligaments. And your ligaments start taking that extra impact from that your muscles cannot handle because they're fatigued. And then what happens is that your ligaments rupture. So even the ACL tear of Gabi can be attributed to muscle fatigue. And I think there's a problem. And what's worrying is that all these doctors, all these physical trainers, the therapists, etc., they were all brought into the club by Xavi. Because when Xavi took over as a coach, he said, there's a serious problem with the medical staff. Koeman had too many injuries. We need to completely, get rid of everybody. And the club did just that. They listened to Xavi. They got rid of everybody. And Xavi brought in his own medical staff. And we're seeing the same, if not worse, than what we were seeing under Koeman. So something seriously wrong there. I'm very worried because we have 3 wingers down. We only have 1 left, and it's Lamine Yamal, and he's 16. And if we keep playing him 90 minutes of every match, God forbid, we might end up without him also. And then who are we left with? Nobody. But anyways, let's do a comment section. I've been talking for a while, and then we'll talk more about players. Let's see. Football Absurdism says, I'm pissed at Xavi. Oh, wait. I just did that. Did I? Oh, no. I didn't. Okay. It says, I'm pissed that Xavi Hernandez took out Fermin instead of Lewandowski. He was useless the full game. I agree with you. Let's see. King Hud says, hey, Mo, I'm currently driving, but I can't miss the stream. This game was not bad. It's a long road with the injuries that occurred. I'd line up 3-5-2, Vitor Roque. Thank you, King Hud, for tuning in. Hopefully you're driving safely and you get to your destination safe. I disagree with you. I think it was just another bad match. I think it's the same match that we've seen before. But at this point, I've just resigned, to the fact that this is what we have and this is what we're going to keep seeing until next season. So what else can I say? Okay, let's see. Alistair says, with Vitor Roque on the pitch, it made the game worth watching. His drive and tenacity is just something else, something our front line needs. 100% agree with you, Alistair. And not just him, Lamine. I think Lamine also made this game worth watching because whenever Lamine gets the ball, my heart just skips a beat because I know this guy is about to do something incredible. Every time. And even if he does it, the next time he gets the ball, I'm like, I'm at the edge of my seat like, oh, what is going to happen. And he's only 16 years old. I mean, this kid is incredible. He had another play like the goal that he scored or the post that he hit in prior games where same play as Messi, where he just runs down the left, cuts in the middle, he takes on defender, kicks it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but man, when Lamine hits, I don't know, 19, 20, he's going to be like next level. And then when he hits his prime, when he's 25, 26, forget about it. But I agree with you, Alistair. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I definitely missed having an attacker who has a drive, who's constantly fighting for the ball, who's going after every ball, who's running to the empty space, always trying to lose his mark, always trying to get open, because we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a while. So very happy that Vitor Roque scored his goal. Hopefully he can continue building on his performance and we can see, the Vitor Roque that we were promised. Anyways, let's talk more. Let's look at the formation real quick. I want to talk about a few more players. And then we will do more comments. But this is the lineup that Xavi Hernandez started with. Iñaki Peña in the goal. Joao Cancelo on the left with Pau Cubarsí and Araujo as the two center backs. Jules Koundé on the right. And then in the midfield, we had Pedri, Ilkay, and Frankie. I think that's going to be pretty much the starting midfield from here until the end of the season. And then we had Ferran, who was, of course, who got injured, brought in Fermin in his place, and then took off Fermin and brought in Vitor Roque. Lewandowski, and then Lamine Yamal on the right. A couple of players I want to talk about. First of all, Cubarsí playing entire 90 minutes of a first division match, and not for a second did I think or did I miss Christensen or Iñigo or Koundé being in the center back position. Like the way this guy defends, there was not a single second where I said, oh, man, we're really struggling because we have a kid defending. Not at all. Total amazing defender. Solid defending by Cubarsí. But not only he's incredible the way he defends, but the way he drives the ball forward. Which is something where a lot of times we used to complain about Araujo. He wasn't too good with the ball at his feet or pushing the ball forward. Not Cubarsí. Cubarsí handles the ball at his feet with such calmness and such intelligence, and he just turned 17 a few days ago. I mean, and to think that we have this kind of talent in La Masia, and then we are blowing, 60 million euros on Koundé and doing things like that. I mean, it makes you think that there's also a problem with the sporting director in the sporting director arena, because Cubarsí has shown us today that he can play in the first division against any team, no problem, and that we don't have to be spending all this crazy money on signing world-class defenders. And let's not forget, we still have Mika Faye, who's still adapting in the academy. We have Eric Garcia, who's on loan. We have Shadi Riyad, who they're trying to bring back. I mean, I think we're covered on the center back position. But Cubarsí, what a talent. I was surprised to see Koundé over Hector Fort. I think maybe Xavi was just trying to go more for experience since we desperately needed these 3 points. But it would have been nice to see him, towards the end. I'm sure we'll see him more. But, we'll see, I guess. Anyways, let's get back to the lineup because I do want to talk. Well, actually, I just talked about, accidentally, I did ended up talking about Lamine Yamal. I wanted to talk to him separately. But I ended up talking about him when I answered Alistair's comment. But I have to say that I'm really worried, since we are discussing Lamine Yamal, I'm worried about the minutes that he's getting. Because I think he had already played 300 minutes in the last 2 weeks before today's match. And if you add today's match, that puts him probably at 400 minutes. And it looks like we're not learning from our mistakes or learning in general, because Dembélé spent half of his time at Barcelona injured because how he was exploited when he was a teenager at Rennes, right? Now, of course, that wasn't our fault. We didn't exploit him. But we should have learned our lesson with Dembélé, seeing what happens when you overplay a teenager, because what happened with Dembélé, right? Then we did do it to Pedri. this time it was our fault. We overplayed, we overexploited Pedri when he was a teenager under Koeman, playing every match of every competition and being called up to the Spanish team, playing every match with them in the summer. And now he has spent half of his time so far at Barcelona injured. And despite dealing with those two players, and instead of learning our lesson from those two players, we're repeating it now with Lamine Yamal, where he's playing 90 minutes of every match. And it doesn't seem like we learn. Because we have to understand something very important is our teenage years is an extremely critical part of our development as human beings. When you're going through your teenage years, your body goes through a lot of changes, way more than any other stage in your life. And it's a very, very critical part of your development is your teenage years. And we've seen that when athletes are overplayed, when they're teenagers, they're overexploited, they play too much, being that it's such a critical stage of your development. And if you've overexploited them during that stage, it has long consequences, lifelong consequences. And we seem like we haven't learned our lesson with Dembele or Pedri because we're doing it again to Lamine. I mean, Pedri came off at the 70th minute. We brought in Romeo. Great. Let's protect Pedri. Let's start from scratch. Let's change his nutrition. Let's change his training. Let's strengthen him up so he doesn't keep getting injured. But what about Lamine? And I get that we don't have wingers right now. Ferran just got injured. Rafinha, Joao are both injured. But how about we go back down to a line of 4 and just leave Lewandowski and Vitor Roque in the front? I don't know, but I'm very, very worried about the minutes of Lamine. But overall, to stay on positive, great match by Lamine. Great few minutes by Vitor Roque. He didn't play a full match. I'm happy that he scored a goal. Fermin, great minutes by him, even though I don't understand why he was subbed out. And most importantly, it's great that we got those 3 very, very important points. Anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we'll end the live stream. Again, the podcast is tonight at 7:30 p.m. Lots of news, so make sure to not miss it. Oh, maybe I did forget something. And thank you, Barian, for bringing this up. These refs are killing me. Clear penalties and fouls not given. Spanish referees are definitely a joke. Let's talk about that real quick, because in what world is the foul committed against Vitor Roque in the box not a penalty? Because that is a penalty clear as day. There are penalty kicks where they're kind of controversial. They can go either way. If they rule penalty, you're like, okay, yeah, it is. If they don't, you're like, you're mad they didn't, but you're like, okay, I can see how it couldn't be. Not this one. There's no controversy about this one. This is absolutely a clear penalty, clear as day. The defender doesn't even try to go for the ball. He holds Vitor Roque from behind. Vitor Roque is still trying to run. It's not like Vitor Roque felt the hand on him and he's just like, and he just flopped. No, like Vitor Roque keeps trying to run and the guy's still holding him and holding him. Vitor Roque still kept trying to run and run. And he's still holding him and holding him, and finally he falls. How is that not a penalty kick? I don't understand. Now, if the ref missed it, okay, fine. You can miss things. Our eyes are not cameras. But what about the guys sitting in the VAR room? You have all kinds of cameras, different angles, close-ups, zoom outs, high speed, low speed. I mean, you got all the angles in the world at all the speeds in the world, and you telling me you didn't see that? You tell me you couldn't call the ref and say, hey, by the way, this was definitely a penalty kick? Are Spanish referees that incompetent? And I can't wait to hear the VAR audio from this, by the way, because Gerard Romero has been doing a great job leaking the audio. So I can't wait to hear what the hell happened in the VAR room, because that penalty kick was as clear as day. And that was not the only one. Then there was several fouls committed against Vitor Roque that were not called. Of course, VAR wouldn't have intervened in those. But I mean, was there an agreement earlier this season or earlier this month that I didn't hear about where someone signed somewhere that if it's a foul committed against Vitor Roque, it's not a foul? Is that like a new rule? I don't know. But the incompetence of Spanish refereeing is getting out of hand. And that's not to excuse the bad performance of Barcelona. That's not to excuse the fact that we were up 1-0 with one extra player and we still couldn't finish the match. But something is seriously wrong with Spanish refereeing. And there needs to be a complete overhaul of the refereeing system from bottom to the top. Otherwise, La Liga is going to keep losing viewerships. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say about that. Let's do a few more comments, and then we will end the live stream. Let's see. Evan says, Mo, I feel Lewandowski's being pretty selfish. There were times he should have just released the ball to Vitor Roque. He was in a better position to finish, but he just held on to the ball. I feel like a lot of players did that today. There was a lot of times where Vitor Roque was wide open. He kept you could see him waving like crazy, like, over here. And people would just not pass it to him. I don't know. Maybe players are just still getting used to playing with him. I don't know. We used to see that a lot with Lamine Yamal, where he would always be open and nobody would pass him. Now it's the opposite, where everybody's like, here, take the ball, do something, because I don't know what to do. So I don't know. But I did notice that. And it wasn't just Lewa. It was the midfield too. Let's see. Chris says, Araujo is walking wounded, probably relying on shots to stay on the field. It's just a matter of time before he goes down. Hope Iñigo comes back. I noticed that too. And Araujo's been dealing with a knee problem, I think, for 3 weeks now, and he still plays because that's, his commitment and dedication to the club. But it does worry me because if we don't get Iñigo back, if Christensen is not back 100%, it's going to be a problem because Araujo needs to be rested. Sooner or later, he's going to need to be rested. He cannot keep playing with an injured knee. It's not smart. Anyways, let's see what else. 65 Barca boy says, we changed our senior medical team only 2 or 3 years ago, Mo, for the exact same doubts. Xabi brought in a new medical team, medical staff when he became coach. And I don't know what's going on. All right, we have a donation from Laugh or Else. Says, to be honest, a tactical manager will not accept low performance. I agree. I agree with you 100%. And thank you so much for your donation. I'm curious though, if I don't laugh, what happens? Because it says Laugh or Else. All right, Sean says, why did Xabi bring on Oriol when he could have played Casado instead? Some of his decision he makes shows me he don't care. I think Oriol was brought in because he wanted more to control the midfield, to have more possession of the ball. Since, Barca's back was against the wall, we were on the ropes, even though we had one extra player. But I think that's why. Let's see. Igor says, the kids spent a couple of good games, and you, dear, say we shouldn't have signed Koundé. We need world-class players here. And no, don't make mistakes here. Okay, that's not what I said. I'm not saying that it was a mistake signing Koundé. I'm saying that we obviously don't need to be spending huge amounts of money on players when we can promote from within. That's what I said. I never said it was a mistake to sign Koundé. All right, let's see. What else? Oh, my man Hart. What's up, Hart? Good to see you. By the way, Hart is the guy who created the intro for the channel. Very, very, very talented person. If you need any production things, hit him up. Anyways, Hart says, sup, Mo, Vitor Roque should start next game. The more he plays, the more he'll adapt to the system. And it's his chance now since Ferran is injured, hoping he'll get more time. I hope so too. We'll see. I know there's a lot of talks about him not being fit because he was injured for 3 months. So I don't know if he is fit, if he's ready yet to play a full 90 minutes. Of course, that's a decision that's going to have to be taken by, the physical conditioning coaches and Xabi. But he definitely needs more minutes, obviously. How else is going to adapt? But yeah, I was happy with his minutes today. I was happy that he scored a goal. Hopefully he gets more minutes, and hopefully his adaptation keeps going well. Anyways, that is it for the post-match live analysis. Thank you guys for tuning in, for your comments, for your likes, for your subscriptions. I will see you guys tonight in the podcast at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lots of interesting news, so make sure to not miss it. Anyways, I'll see you then. As always, peace, guys.